Hello, all you freedom-loving people. DHS has a new self-deportation plan for illegals. Hollywood will get a big boost with tariffs on foreign films. And what's the latest on President Trump's third term? Okay, let's get into it. The Trump administration is busy these days. Today, the Department of Homeland Security announced that it will cover the cost of commercial flights and provide a $1,000 payment to illegal aliens who opt to self-deport from the United States. The department said that this would be 70% cheaper for American taxpayers. It currently costs the DHS on average over $17,000 to arrest, detain, and deport someone. DHS explained that paying for aliens this way would cost only around $4,500 on average. The stipend would not be paid until it was verified that an individual self-deported. Aliens would use the CBP Home Self-Deportation app in order to access this assistance. With this announcement, DHS expects the number of self-removals to increase significantly. The DHS also made it clear that self-deportation allows individuals a chance to return legally one day. Also, the Trump administration has taken another step to keep America safe. On Sunday, President Trump announced that he would reopen and rebuild the historic Alcatraz prison off the San Francisco coast. The prison would jail the most ruthless criminals. In a Truth Social post, President Trump revealed that he had ordered the Bureau of Prisons, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Homeland Security to reopen the former federal prison. Alcatraz served as a federal prison from 1934 to 1963, but it was ultimately shut down due to high operational costs and infrastructure challenges. The former military prison was known for being impossible to escape from due to the strong currents and cold waters of the Pacific Ocean. It is still unclear whether this will happen, though. President Trump told reporters at the White House on Sunday, "It's just an idea I've had. It's long been a symbol, Alcatraz. It's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order."
Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate, right? Alcatraz, Sing Sing and Alcatraz, the movies. But it's right now a museum, believe it or not. A lot of people go there. It housed the most violent criminals in the world, and nobody ever escaped. One person almost got there, but they, as you know the story, they found his clothing rather badly ripped up, and it was a lot of shark bites, a lot of problems. Nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz, and just represented something strong having to do with law and order. We need law and order in this country, and so we're going to look at it. Some of the people up here are going to be working very hard on that, and we had a little conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting. We'll see if we can bring it back in large form, add a lot. But I think it represents something. Right now it's a big hulk that's sitting there rusting and rotting.
President Trump also mentioned the National Security Advisor's role after Mike Waltz's exit from the position. President Trump told reporters that many people are interested in that role, but President Trump said Stephen Miller is at the top of the totem pole. I think he sort of indirectly already has the job because he has a lot to say about a lot of things. He's a very valued person in the administration, Stephen Miller. And when asked about Waltz's departure from the role, President Trump said, "I didn't lose confidence in him. He's going to the United Nations. To me, I think it's personally, if I had a choice for myself, I'd rather have that job than the other." The South Texas home of Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket company is becoming a new city called Starbase. Starbase is the facility and launch site for the SpaceX rocket program. The area is home to only a few hundred residents, the vast majority of whom are SpaceX employees. The idea of turning the SpaceX headquarters site into a city was first proposed by Musk in 2021, and now it has been made a reality by a vote of residents. In Saturday's vote, there were 212 voters in favor of the idea and 6 against, for a nearly 98% approval rating. SpaceX has taken on important missions for NASA and the Department of Defense. This includes sending astronauts to the moon with the ultimate goal of Mars. It employs about 3,400 employees and contractors, and it's an important economic pillar of the Rio Grande Valley region. But the establishment of the new city has also sparked some controversy. Critics worry that it will expand Musk's personal control of the region, and it could give the city authority to close public beaches and the Boca Chica State Park. At this point, SpaceX has not made clear plans for future urban development at the starbase, but company executive Kathy Leaders said that urbanization will help improve the community's infrastructure, including roads, utilities, education, and healthcare. President Trump announced on Sunday that he will impose a 100% tariff on all movies that are made outside the U.S. and imported into the country. President Trump posted on Truth Social that Hollywood is being destroyed and that other countries are stealing American movies and stealing American movie-making capabilities. He wrote, "The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again." But it's not at all clear just how such a tariff would be imposed. Films are intellectual property, not goods, so they represent a kind of service that is not currently subject to tariffs. However, there are certain non-tariff trade barriers, such as regulations and tax incentives. Those could disadvantage American filmmaking. President Trump wrote, "Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda."
Film industry has been decimated by other countries taking them out, and also by incompetence, like in Los Angeles. The governor is a grossly incompetent man. He's just allowed it to be taken away from, Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't do very much of that business. They have the nice sign and everything's good, but they don't do very much. A lot of it's been taken to other countries, and a big proportion. And I'm actually going to meet with some because, there's some advantages, I guess, and I'm not looking to hurt the industry. I want to help the industry. But they're given financing by other countries. They're given a lot of things. And the industry was decimated. If you look at how little is done in this country now, you think we were the ones. We used to do 100, not long ago, 100%. Now we do almost like very little. It's shocking.
While the United States is engaged in a trade war with other countries, the movie industry has also felt the impact of the tariffs. The CCP responded to the new U.S. tariffs in April by reducing the quota of U.S. films that are allowed into China. Over the years, there has been a steady exodus of film and television production from Hollywood to areas that offer tax incentives in order to reduce the cost of filming. All major media companies, including Disney, Netflix, and Universal Pictures, have overseas filming locations in Canada and the United Kingdom. According to Ampere Analysis, the total global spending on film and television production is expected to reach $248 billion in 2025. Governments are increasing credit and tax rebates in order to attract production and to gain market share. Australia and New Zealand leaders responded to President Trump's movie tariff statement on Monday, saying that they would defend their industries. Several Marvel movies have been filmed in Australia, and The Lord of the Rings was set in New Zealand. And BEC2, the UK's media and entertainment union, has called on the government to take immediate action to protect the UK's vital film industry. On Sunday, President Trump made it fairly clear in an interview with NBC News that he has no intention at this point of seeking a third term, and for the first time, he talked about his successors. This was President Trump's clear statement to date on whether or not he will seek a third term. The topic of President Trump's third term in office has recently come back into vogue, perhaps because the Trump Group has launched the Trump 2028 Red Hat on its official online store. The Trump 2028 Red Hats are priced at $50 each. It seems to be encouraging supporters to put on their hats in order to speak out with action and to troll the left in favor of President Trump's re-election. But President Trump clarified in the interview that this is not his personal intention. President Trump told host Kristen Welker, "There are many people willing to wear the 2028 hats, but this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican to carry it forward, but I think we'll have 4 years. And I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular." But President Trump knows that many people want him to stay in power after this term. President Trump said, "That's because they like the job I'm doing, and that's a compliment." Speaking of successors, President Trump said that there are as many as 20 people in the Republican Party who have the potential to be leaders and that it's too early to tell. But when his term is over, these are the people who can carry on the MAGA banner. At the same time, President Trump singled out Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio as his favorites for future Republican leadership. President Trump called Vance brilliant, and he said that he thinks Vance's vice presidency would give him an advantage in future Republican primaries. While most U.S. vice presidents are usually low profile, Vance is different. He has been active and in the limelight. President Trump also praised Marco Rubio, saying that he is doing a great job. Rubio currently serves as Secretary of State, as acting head of the National Archives, as acting director of the U.S. Agency for International Development, and as National Security Advisor. In addition, President Trump is confident about the 2026 midterm elections. Generally speaking, the party that wins the presidential election usually loses the House or the Senate in the midterm elections, but President Trump thinks that the Republicans will easily reverse that routine this time around. At the age of 72, Vladimir Putin has been ruling Russia for more than 25 years. He is the longest-serving Russian leader since Joseph Stalin. Vladimir Putin's beginning as the head of Russia came on December 31st, 1999, when then-President Boris Yeltsin suddenly resigned from his post. Then Prime Minister Putin was appointed as the acting president. The president of Russia is also term limited. So how did Putin manage to stay in power for 25 consecutive years? Putin does have a knack for it. Putin was the president of Russia from the year 2000 to 2008. Then Putin was unable to run in the 2008 presidential election due to constitutional limitations on re-election. However, he asked his friend and then Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev to run for president, and Putin became Medvedev's prime minister. By 2012, Vladimir Putin was re-elected and he became the president again. Then he extended the presidential term from 4 years to 6 years. Then in 2020, Putin amended the constitution to nullify his previous terms, enabling him to run again in 2024. He now can potentially stay in power until 2036. Vladimir Putin has a considerable number of supporters in Russia. So even when he was prime minister, the whole of Russia was actually in his hands. Now people are wondering, has he considered retiring? Or will he remain in power until the end? Putin answered questions about the receiver in a documentary filmed by Russian state television. The new documentary that is produced in Russia is titled Russia, Kremlin, Putin, 25 Years, and it was released on May 4th. In the video, when asked, Putin replied that he constantly considers successors. He stressed that any successor must earn the trust of the people. He had warned that without it, a future president would have no chance to do anything seriously. Putin also said there should be a person, and preferably several, so that people have a choice, who could achieve this trust from the citizens of the country. In the documentary, when asked by a reporter whether there was a risk of nuclear escalation in the Ukraine war, Putin emphasized that he hopes there will be no need for nuclear weapons in Ukraine. He said they wanted to provoke us so that we made mistakes. The country was not ready for such a frontal confrontation with the entire collective West. Putin also said he sincerely sought to solve the problem of Donbass by peaceful means. But Putin noted that reconciliation between Ukraine and Russia is inevitable. Romania held its first round of presidential elections on Sunday. The elections in this NATO country have been closely watched by the world since last November. Romania's first round of presidential elections was originally scheduled for last November, and it was won by a right-wing candidate, Calin Georgescu. But the Romanian authorities accused Georgescu of being successful due to Russian interference. So the court ruled that the results of this round of voting were invalid, and they canceled the second round of voting that was scheduled for December 6. Georgescu is currently under investigation, and he has been barred from running again, which has sparked public discontent. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance accused the Romanian authorities of canceling the election out of dislike for the results. Despite the fact that Georgescu was barred from running, pre-election polls showed the leading candidate was another right-wing conservative, George Simion. There are 11 candidates running for president. In pre-election polls, the 38-year-old Simeon had favorable ratings around 30%, which is significantly ahead of his rivals. However, he fell short of the 50% threshold that is needed to avoid a runoff on May 18th. Simeon opposes military aid to Ukraine, he criticizes EU leadership, and he supports President Trump's Make America Great Again campaign. He could also be seen as Georgescu's successor. George Simeon says that it's his duty to restore democracy and the will of the people after the previous vote was annulled. He said, "We didn't go from communism to democracy in 1989. The Romanian people lived the lie that we are a democratic country. Last year's failed election plunged the country into unprecedented political turmoil." Simeon said they voted for the change and they were not allowed to make this change. "I'm running again as a duty toward democracy, toward the constitutional order, to restore the rule of law and to restore the will of the Romanian people." Simeon's main rivals were two centrists, former Senator Crin Antonescu, who is 65 years old, and Bucharest Mayor Nicosor Dan, who is 55. Both candidates support the EU, NATO, and Ukraine. When the count was completed at 50% of the polling stations, Simeon had 42% of the vote. Crin Antonescu was second with 23%, and Nicosor Dan was third with 16%. In Romania, as in many EU countries, there is a high level of public support for the Conservatives. This is largely driven by high inflation, the high cost of living, large budget deficits, and an economic downturn. This downturn has strengthened support for right-wing figures such as Georgescu and Simeon. Some political observers have pointed out that if Simeon is elected, Romania's position in the EU and NATO may change in the future. Romania is currently located on the eastern flank of NATO near Ukraine. Simeon has said that he has reservations about the current EU policy, and he does not support the continuation of military assistance to Ukraine. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and the notification bell after you subscribe. And please share this video with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.